Hey everyone, I'm Caroline Rena from the Ride of My Life podcast. And today was an interesting day in that I really did not have an idea for a topic. And I wanted to bring someone on who I hold near and dear to my heart. She's been on before in season 2. I did an interview with her, Valerie Montgomery, and I will let her quickly do an update on the things that she's doing because things have changed. However, I do want to say that if it wasn't for Valerie and my ride over the last year, she was part of my healing journey, a huge part of my healing journey, and being able to work through everything I needed to release the things that no longer serve me, to grieve these things. And I wanted to connect with her and see where this would go, because I'm moving into talking about grief. And most people either don't know that they're in grief, or they don't know what it is, or they don't know how to support themselves or somebody else. And I wanted to just bring her on and see where this goes. So Valerie, give an update, please, of what you're doing now, just so people know who you are and what you do. Couple minutes, and then we'll go from there and see what happens.
Yeah, well, thank you for reaching out. I always think our talks are fruitful. Yes. And they're really kind of cool when we're riffing, you know. And so, I mean, right now, I mean, I've been a therapist for 15 years, and I'm creating a new model of free Facebook group where I'll be sharing some of my signature programs and packages, and moving more into the guideship model, rather than the therapeutic medical model. So that's where I'm at right now.
Well, thank you, because you just made me think of something. So the guideship model, how can you just really quick kind of give an explanation on how it differs from the therapeutic model?
So the therapeutic model is time-based, based for billing insurance companies or Medicare or Medicaid. So Medicare is the grandfather of all the insurances. They all follow Medicare. And so it's very much like if you go in for a broken arm to your doctor, they'll give you a code and it says broken arm, this number of minutes. And that's what they bill. The billing parts of the doctor's office will bill this common procedural term, and then hopefully the insurance company will agree that there's a broken arm, and then they will release the funds to pay the medical professional for what already happened. So the model I'm moving into is non-medical, so it's non-clinical, and it's not time related, it's expertise acknowledging. So my work is holistic, and it's about, and it stems off of emotional well-being. And so people who are ready to get into it are the perfect client for me. Clients.
Yeah, clients, yeah. Plural. We want more than one.
Well, yeah. I've always worked in a one-on-one because, you know, groups in the therapeutic model are much more, well, let's just say you have to have really strong trust for people to join with other people to work on a topic. So yeah. I've always been one-on-one based on my human design too.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for explaining that. So what hit me when I heard you say that, maybe this can be the lead into what we talk about, is that you mentioned if you break your arm, you are going to go to see a doctor to help mend that. So what happens, here's the big question, and this is where the whole grief thing comes in. If you have a broken heart, what do you do with that? Do you hold on to that broken heart and try to just live life as it is, which a lot of us try to do that because we're never taught correctly how to grieve, or we just well, that's the basic bottom line of it. So having a broken heart, what makes that different in healing than going to see a doctor for a broken arm?
It's a good question. So a broken arm can have physical evidence of the break, such as an x-ray. Oh, it's broken. Oh, well, what do we need to do to fix it? So the best use for medical models is really that kind of trauma, like we have a broken bone or something like that. It's great for saving lives. Long term, how about we look at what makes us human and how can we support our individuality and celebrate who we really are, not what we're carrying around that we don't even know is there. And that's the piece that most Americans don't know. In my experience, they don't know what they're repressing, that they weren't taught how to manage and how to metabolize.
Mm-hmm.
And I use that word because most of us know when we take in food, we have to digest it. And then we excrete what we don't need, sweat, bathrooming, all of that. So there's an emotional sense, there's tears, there's shivers, there's anguish that we let off of our nervous systems that has been there that we might have adopted to. It's not even ours. It could be epigenetic from generations back. So I always like to hear what you think of what I've said, because sometimes I'm like, there's so much I could talk about.
Okay, so what I'm hearing that you're saying, in my perspective, in my world, in my own healing, is yeah, there are things that get stuck inside of us, and there's the word stuck. We feel stuck, we feel, I feel stuck, whatever that word is. I can't even use the word, but I'm getting somewhere with us somehow. So what I'm saying is, like, the stuckness isn't necessarily a thing. It's in the subconscious. It's part of the stress response to a situation in our life or something. And it could also be stuck in there because of the generational trauma. And so when we don't release this, when we don't take a look at what's going on inside of us, then we continue to feel like life is just, it's just there, it's holding on, I don't know what to do, whatever that looks like for somebody. And for me, it was, I felt stuck because I didn't know how to release those emotions. I didn't know how to feel the emotions. And grief, to me, is its own little entity of emotion. It's a mix of, like you were saying, there's the the crying or getting through these different pieces of it. And grief for me was something that helped me to get through these emotions, and talking with you and sitting with you and you using your energy with me helped me to walk through that stuff and to grieve, to release it through grief. So does that kind of, did I get there or close?
Okay, so I want to just say, how some people say there's a complex post-traumatic stress disorder?
Mhm.
Well, there's complex grief.
Yes.
And complex grief just means it's not about one thing.
Right. It's this unresolved.
I mean,
Part of it?
so Americans, again, I don't know a lot of I have ideas, but okay, so I'm 35, I have a car accident, I break something, or it's just an impact. It's called a motor vehicle accident. It's an event trauma. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can grieve the fact that you were a victim of a crime, somebody was drinking and driving or whatever. There's all these facets to it, and your life has changed. And you can deal with that one situation, not that it's easy, none of it is. But when you have things that have been around your whole lifetime and you don't even know they're there, and life keeps giving you opportunities to access what that pain is, where that shock is frozen in your body brain, and also how your parents, grandparents, or community taught you what to do with those things. Then we have complex grief.
Because they
And
don't naturally teach us, though. They don't
No,
necessarily do that.
because guess what? Our ancestors were surviving.
Yes.
They were surviving the Depression. They were taking someone's land. They were, occupying someone's land. They were fighting. They were leaving, immigrating. There was war. There was natural disaster, famines.
Right. And you know what's interesting about all that generational stuff, though, is recently I have found out that the trauma that we hold inside of our bodies can go back for 14 generations.
That's what epigenetics is.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's really interesting how we are taught to, without even knowing, to suppress all that.
Here's the message I want to make sure we get through is there is hope, because there is a mechanism to metabolize, heal, to process, to almost off gas, like to release what's no longer helpful and isn't part of who I really am.
Right.
But I didn't know it was there.
What is this mechanism? Is it like a physiological mechanism, or
it's holistic? So yes, it's taking all the strengths and gifts and aptitudes that you have and addressing it in your timing through the route of emotions.
Right. And okay, so that's interesting because you work with emotions, and I've started working in just with grief with my clients, and it's interesting how it kind of comes back together, the emotions, because it's the same thing. It's a different word, I guess,
I mean, we all have our different backgrounds, don't we? Backgrounds, history, what's worked for us. I was thinking last night, like I market to women and I love working with women because they'll naturally share it with others. But I have some really brave male clients. I have transgender clients. I have all kinds of different clients who have benefited from my work. It's really, I think the hope piece is what some people, they don't know. They're too stuck in, a substance misuse, or they're too stuck in blaming somebody else, or they're too stuck, with the situation.
or in their head.
Well, I mean, I don't want to say that somebody's, like, it's sometimes they don't have access, or they haven't found, or that whatever their life is at this part of their path that they haven't encountered what's going to be most helpful for them.
The reason I said stuck in their head is because when we get into, like, the mind and body communicate, and when we get stuck in a cycle of a story or a belief or whatever, it ruminates and ruminates and ruminates. That's what I mean by getting stuck in the head.
Well, I think some people have that experience, and for some other people, it's in their body.
Well, so yeah, no.
I want to say that the body mind is really where I hang out.
Well, yes, and I think if I just want to finish what that is, because what happens in my world that I've noticed is when I used to get stuck in the head, I used to feel that in my body. So it's totally the same thing. I just didn't, I didn't, like, I would get sick to my stomach, or I would get shaky, or I would get, so the connection between the body mind is important to be understood, because, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, or, I think about something and it makes my body, I shared this story on another interview or another talk with people. It's like, I used to, back in the day when I worked for somebody and I needed a mental health day, I would call in and I would say, oh, I'm not feeling good today and my throat hurts and or whatever. And never, I'm sure I did that quite a few times, and it never didn't happen. When I got off the phone, I invariably had a sore throat, and I started getting, so I couldn't enjoy my day because I convinced myself so I could convince them that I was sick. And so the connection was there, and I noticed this and I started tracking it. That's why I got into the body stuff, because of that. And you're right. It's something where we need to understand that connection. But I wanted to ask you this piece, and I kind of brought it up before, where before we started talking. This thing, what's the woman's name? Kubler-Ross, her first name?
Elizabeth Kubler-Ross.
Yeah.
Stages of death and dying, really.
Right. And so we have learned, aside from covering up our grief and covering up the emotions that we have inside and covering up all the stuff that are running our lives in the body, in the mind, in the nervous system, aside from all that, we have been taught that the 5 stages of grief are for the griever. And when I learned these stages, I was like, well, I don't feel that way. And I don't feel, this isn't making any sense. And so I started doing a little bit of research on it. And I found out that the actual 5 stages of grief are not for the griever. They're for the dying. They're for the person to get to the point where they are processing these stages of grief and walking through it. So for me, I had to learn that it was okay to look at grief as a cycle and kind of work through these things. And I did. I'm bringing it back to the mind body because I had to think about it. I had to feel the emotions. I had to go back. I thought about what it was because I'm analytical, as you know. And then I would feel the emotion again. And it took me so long to do this because I was so brainwashed about how it was brought out to me, society, whatever, on what that was. And I don't see that as being the truth of who I am. You know, I don't see that way. And I feel like there's this understanding that we don't have about how to do that. And do you, what do you think about that? What do you think?
I have a favorite mechanism that I learned through my own work on myself, with myself. It comes from the Grief Recovery Handbook. And one of those authors and method has just died. But it basically, the definition of grief is anything you wished were more, better, or different. I use Kubler-Ross's work to identify, to start the conversation about grief, because people will be angry, or they'll be in denial, or they'll be bargaining, or whatever. And I'll be like, oh, that's interesting. That sounds like grief. And it starts the conversation, but that's not where we stay.
Interesting. Okay. So that makes, yeah, I wanted to get that out of you. I wasn't sure what direction you went in with that. So that's interesting. So go on.
So that's where, to me, the work that I've experienced with my clients and with myself, and I'm a big F in the Myers-Briggs. So feeling, not thinker. I'm a feeler, not a thinker. So I've got this big receiving dish, like a satellite dish for my feelings. Now it's not mine, it's my receiver. So I can work with my clients. But basically, the best route is to do the inner child work that I do, because when we have a developing brain body, we can make decisions and hold beliefs that we still operate from, but we don't know they're there, based on our inner child's decision. 3 years old, mommy goes to work. She usually stays home with me. Now I've decided that I'm not important. And so I don't even know it's there, because I don't remember making that decision, but it's in my body that I made that decision.
Yes.
And so how does that come out? And there's a relationship problem. And you know, my partner goes off for a guy's weekend, and I'm thinking I'm not important. Is that really true? Is that about the mature brain? Or where is it coming from? So we do the spelunking and go into the subconscious, and then we find through the portal of emotions, and we find that 3-year-old that then we can nurture, and we can be there for, and we can support her, and we can be her mommy.
Yeah, and that's reparent. It's the reparenting piece. And I love hearing you. I love the words that you you say when you say it, because you can, sometimes I haven't been able to speak the words that, of the things, because I do something similar. We just, obviously different people do it a little bit differently, but it's
Well,
very similar to, it's very
it's
similar to
all our different experience, training,
yeah.
history, background.
Yeah. And it's like, you're so right, because that little boy or girl that gets stuck at that age in the which is really in the subconscious, comes out sideways in life when we get older. And that's my favorite term. It's like, oh, I'm going to blame you because I feel upset because you left me, because my body remembers my mommy leaving me, and
Right.
that's not how things. So when you start to recognize those things, when you start to observe those things, we'll get it. That's another, when we start to see that, then we can, if we choose, we can make a decision to connect with that little boy or girl and heal that. And it's possible, because both Valerie and I have done this type of work on ourselves and with other people. And it's been an amazing experience. We actually kind of did it with each other when I was staying with her. So it was neat. It was neat to watch it, for me at least, watch it in her and to watch it in myself, because she, and I'm gonna give you some kudos here. Valerie knows how to hold this safe space. So you don't, and there's no interruption. There's no, she meets you where you're at and allows you to heal whatever is going on in there and process it, and supports you as necessary. And that's what helped me. This Valerie, staying with Valerie was like this incredibly eye-opening, healing portion of my journey to get me to understand what was happening with myself before leaving where she is, and coming back here to Florida. And that's why I'm so grateful, because we had that, and we could mirror each other and walk through it with each other and learn from each other. And God, how powerful that was. And wouldn't you like to have that too? I mean, it was amazing. And being able to finally have a mentor / support system like this, like I had with you. And that's what we need. That's what I feel like most people need, that who are interested in doing this type of work, who are interested in healing through this type of work, because it's so, so powerful.
Yes. I just realized that my custom program is going to be 10 weeks and you were with me for 10 weeks.
Isn't that interesting? So you learned it. You set it up by way of our 10-week journey. Yeah. Well,
I just realized that.
And I've got something I'm working on as with writing a writing grief support group called the Right to Heal, journaling your way through grief on Meetup, which I can do for.
Did you make a Meetup group?
I did. It's actually a link on the sheet of paper, or the flyer I sent you. Did you get the flyer?
I couldn't read it very well on my phone.
Okay, well, don't look at it on your phone. Yeah, it's meant for email. So, but yeah, and the thing about it is that it does similarly, what were we talking about?
The 10-week program I was telling you, like, I just realized that that's the same amount of time that I'm putting my customized program together.
Yeah,
so
that's so
cool.
cool.
I have about 5 more minutes.
Okay.
So I'm wondering what you want to do with it.
Well, first, I want to finish this piece right here, is that similarly with the 10-week program, that's where I was going, was that I'm setting things up with like as needed type of thing with the Meetup. I'm also leading into a 6-week program where I can do this process to help people begin to walk through this stuff and then decide what they want to do from that point in writing to heal from grief. So it's like, I love the idea, and I don't know what this means or what it looks like, but the similarities that you and I have with the types of work that we do, not how we do it. And I just want, my listeners to know that I know that Valerie has this gift that I am forever grateful. And I also want you to know that we're here for you. I mean, I don't know how else to bring that out. And it's something that is healing. It's not a Band-Aid. It will heal you, and we can support that for you in the work that you are doing to move to the next level. Do you want to add?
Can I just say something?
Yes, yes.
Unhealed grief causes medical health conditions.
Yes.
So you can take a pill that will never change what's underlying,
Yeah.
or you can get some help from Caroline.
Or Val, yes. And what I don't know, I can talk to Valerie, and Valerie doesn't know she can talk to me. Yeah.
It's a very, very rich opportunity, I think. And
I think so too.
I'm excited about your meetup group.
And I'm excited about the work you're doing. That's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on here, because I've been watching it. And what I'll do is I can put the link up to your Facebook group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm using the members as my almost like my combined person to create a custom program for.
Yeah, yeah. That's so weird that we're doing similar things like that. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe it's not weird, right?
Maybe it's not weird. That's how the universe works. I don't know. And whatever. So I don't know what else to say. If you have anything else you want to share.
Well, I want to know if this is what you were hoping for it to be.
100%. And I think that, you know, I like the riffing. I like the going back and forth. I find that people tend to get more interested in just kind of hearing what the little not the cookies, what the little jewels are.
Snippets.
The snippets. Yeah. And so that's perfect for me. It works. And again, thank you so much for just jumping on. This is Colorado we're talking about, so 2 hours behind Eastern. So
I just had my breakfast.
And just had her breakfast, and I haven't even had mine yet. So, but I just want to say thank you, Valerie, for jumping on like this. And
yeah, you're welcome. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, and I just want to be sure to have you all know that there's opportunities out there of people where you can heal this and not live with it if you choose. So reach out if you want to, if you resonate with any of the stuff that we were saying. And once again, I'm Caroline Rena, Valerie Montgomery, and this is the Ride of My Life podcast. And thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Thank you for coming along with me on this journey. More to come. Peace.